everybody, it is Security Happy Hour. That's right. This is me. It's your boy, this Cyber Warrior. This is CyberWarriorStudios. And I know you are all here for another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour. Now, it is Veterans Day weekend, and it is the Marine Corps birthday today. So make sure you give your favorite Marine a box of crayons because they're going to need something to help them to get through the weekend. It might be the next meal they have. And I've got an amazing episode planned. We've got two veterans here. And if you are a military veteran and you're in the audience, please feel free to let me know, give you a shout out. We're going to keep this thing rolling. Now, before I get started, just understand it's going to be a crazy episode because us veterans, while we don't hold back, that's just how we are. So we're here, we're in it to win it, and I'll be back in about 10 seconds. And I'm back. And I got with me this evening, Geno and Chris. Chris, everybody knows you. Not a whole lot of people know Geno. So before we get started, I want to say happy Veterans Day. Happy birthday to the Marine Corps. Please give a red crayon or a green crayon. Find out their favorite flavor. Make sure you give your favorite Marine the color that they deserve. But otherwise, look, hey, it's going to be an amazing episode. I love you all. Geno, please, for all those that don't know you, give them a little bit about an introduction about yourself and how you got into cybersecurity.
All right. I'm going to try to make this quick. So, Geno, cybersecurity, man, never saw myself doing this shit, ever. Never. I was joined the Army. I was power generation. I set up power grids, fixed diesel engines, power generators. I got voluntold to do recruiting. I met some IT recruiters at a job fair that we were at, and I heard them talking about salaries, and I said, oh, shit, I'm in the wrong field. So at that time, I switched my job over in the Army to IT, and then 2 years later, and that's about when I met Derek, because he actually helped me a lot switching over to cyber. So I applied for this network defenders, and went to school, didn't know shit about cyber, and got through it. And then from there, I was in Fort Gordon. I was doing CCRIs. So I was auditing the government pretty much on their cybersecurity. Did that for a couple of years. Got out of the Army. Came back in as a federal employee doing Army cyber protection teams. Going out doing their ICS SCADA work. Then I got transferred back as a civilian to doing CCRIs. Became a supervisor doing that, and then we moved back to Texas. Now I'm on the Air Force cyber protection team. Can't tell you everything because it's secret squirrel shit, but yeah, that's what I do. That's how I got here. I was just telling Derek, I still don't feel like I know enough.
Dude, I don't think we ever know enough. And Chris, who will be talking here in a second, I guarantee you he's going to second that. I love it, Chris. I love it. You know, it's one of those things where, Geno, me and you go way back. We've been talking for a few years. You know, we talked about 25 Delta. We talk about, 17 Charlie, all these different MOSs and the routes you can go about getting into the field. You've made a lot of headway. You've been doing a lot of big things. And every time I've tried to get you on the show, there's always been, I don't know enough. The reality of it is none of us know enough. None of us will ever know enough. And so I've been trying to get that through to you. Thankfully, you're on this evening. It's going to be a great show. We've got a lot of great things planned, so I'm glad you're here. Chris, you are by far one of the biggest names in veterans and cybersecurity in the industry today. And I am extremely grateful, extremely humbly. Thank you for coming on the show. I would really like to know, what kind of got your start? Because me and you, like, I'm sure we both go way back, and we know, the dot matrix printers and all that other bullshit. But what got you into cybersecurity? What was that triggering effect of like, this is what I want to do?
I think it was probably getting yelled at too many times. Yeah, I mean, I started messing with this stuff back in like ZX80, ZX81 days, and I mean that was like, I mean, we had 4K in memory, and we thought we were rocking with 4K in memory.
Right?
I mean,
Shit. Yes.
yeah, no shit.
I think I
It's
had
like,
a 5 meg hard drive and was like, yeah, I'm awesome.
oh yeah. I mean those. Yeah, I mean when the compacts came out with their like 480. I mean, do you remember the turbo button? Let's just go back.
Oh
to that.
yeah, dude. That button was the shit back in the day. Turbo. Yes. Let's go.
yeah, that shit. So it's, you know, it was those days, and then it was a couple of years of doing that, and then I went in. So I started working at 1516, and I was working on just general IT. I was, you know, screwdriver wielding techie, you know, floppy disk in one hand, drivers and freaking other things in the other hand, and then nighttime I was working in kitchens. I did that for a couple of years. Then I went in when I was 18 and, you know, kicked out of submarines and thrown out of airplanes for 10 years. And then I was active 5 and then reserves 5. Yeah. Oh yeah. Stupid shit. And then got back into it as IT back in, you know, mid late 90s, and just gravitated towards networking and servers and security. And it was early. I mean, we were still IT, and then it went to security, and then it went to, I don't know, whatever the heck it went to, and now it's a cyber whatever. Yeah. So it's, you know, I've been ridiculously fortunate, and I've always still maintained that 1 foot in the .mil.gov side of the world, 1 foot in the civilian side. So it's really freaking nice to be able to go hang out with God, with everybody else, and just work and train and have fun. And it's family. I mean, it's family. I think that's what, you know, what got me into it probably was A, gaming, because I don't like losing. So, you know, that's a starter on that one. And B, it's the camaraderie, it's the family.
And you know, it's funny because I take the opposite route, right? When I looked at the route that the government, when a lot of things were going, I stepped out. I didn't want anything to do with the government. I will keep in touch with people like Geno and my soldiers and my brothers and sisters in arms, but I want nothing to do with the military and the government, because the bureaucracy, the red tape, all the bullshit to just be able to do your job and get shit done, I want nothing to do with. And it's bad enough in the civilian sector, let alone within the government. Like that's like, nope. I don't want to touch it, because even when I was in, for me, trying to do a defender's job of let's run, you know, X toll, they're like, oh, all the civilians do that. Then why the fuck did you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to train me?
Yep.
To then tell me civilians do this job? Then why am I here? Like I have no purpose. So it was one of those things that I understand your premise of the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, the, you know, everything you get, the familial, the everything there. But I couldn't do it anymore. I just, anytime any company is like, hey, we're going to do this with X, Y, and Z for government, I'm like, count me out. I don't want a clearance. I don't want anything to do with it. Bitches, I'm out. I want nothing to do with it. Nothing. It's just, I can't take that mindset anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a balance. To me, it's a balance. I'm very fortunate that a lot of the times I don't have to deal with quite as much of that bureaucracy, because it literally is 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Yeah. So I get, to some degree, the best of both worlds. I get the contractor behind the scenes, but also when shit goes wrong, I also get the blame game. So it's like, you know, it's he plays money as he takes your choice. But I'm with you. I mean, I am not one for a bureaucratic triplicate or 5-page document that I can just, that shit doesn't fly. And I'm also not up for getting yelled at for doing what I know is the right thing either. So that, you know, I got to be a little bit careful on that one.
Yeah, definitely. So I got a question though, because, you know, being all about cybersecurity, we notice that the biggest headache within the military right now to this day is going to be the pay scale, because the military is only going to pay so much. Even as an officer, they're only going to pay so much. But on the outside, they pay a hell of a lot more. Yep. If you're able to word your resume correctly and get your foot in the door with the right organizations. Yeah. Again, it's all about transitioning and verbiage and how you can market yourself. But with that being the case, do you think the military is hurting themselves by not having a cyber branch? And for this, I will go to Geno first.
So I want to tell you this. So it's changed a little bit, right? So now, I don't know. Like when I first started CBT, you didn't have the extra pay. If you were active duty, you didn't get no extra incentive pay for being cyber. Now, Army, I know the Army and the Air Force give the airmen and soldiers incentive pay for being in that field. So rather it be $1,200 a month or whatever it be, they give them extra money for being in that field. Now the civilians, the federal civilians, are also now getting incentive. I'm a contractor, but I work with both. So I know the federal civilians are also getting now paid, trying to get them caught up with the cyber field because they are losing people to the contracting world and the civilian sector, to the private sector. So that they are with soldiers and airmen or service members, they still are hurting because they see what contractors are making and they're like, dude, why would I stay in and I could just get out, make this money now, put money aside in my 401k or whatever I want to do and still make off better than I would off the 20-year retirement.
Yeah. Chris, what about you, man?
I think it's the same thing. I was talking to a couple of friends out of different country doing same issues. They have mandated, so they're in for 2 to 4 years depending on what they're doing. And you're right, they're getting. I mean, they've got venture capitalists and they're already literally handing them outside of the door. So what they're doing is both the stipend, but also doing some other somewhat unique things. They're doing like some spot bonus incentives. Like, we get to the end of the year and it's like, hey, congrats, we get bonus. It's a similar kind of thing. They're starting to do that to try to close the gap. But they're also trying to do like non-financial incentives, like more training on certain areas, more conferences. But I think it's one of those weird things as well, because to me, it's also not just about the money. You do get to super secret squirrel shit. I mean, you get to play with some really freaking cool shit that you wouldn't necessarily get to do. So it is a balance. And I think the other thing is as well, given the fact that they just upped the age limit as well. I was talking to some of the guys, they were upping the age limit for WO grades and some of the other stuff. And for a lot of us as well, is that you sit there and you're like, well, hang on, I've had fun. I've gotten out. I've done everything I needed to. Screw it. I'll go back in for a bit.
I think, I can agree and disagree with that in that, when you talk about the fun stuff, for me, it was breaking in the shit.
Yeah.
Getting in the military was breaking the shit. So when I was in the Army, I went through all of the SANS courses, right? I had my GSEC, GSED, GCIH, GCED, you name it. I fucking had it. I went through all the SANS courses, $100 and some $1,000 spent in training on me.
Yeah.
But at that time, because as a 25 Delta at that time within the Army, I was told initially, hey, you're going to go to Fort Gordon or Fort Meade. I got distinguished on a grad. Got told I'm going to go to our cyber command shit. I was going to be able to do all the cool shit, all the secret scroll shit. I got sent to Fort Riley, Kansas, and wasn't allowed to do my job. And then I got deployed to Kuwait and wasn't allowed to do my job. I was literally an AD sysadmin, like, hey, have fun, secure Active Directory type of bullshit. And so you're talking to someone that had been through the ringer, had literally taught himself everything I needed to do to break into shit, to fix shit, to spread malware, secure malware, everything. I had done it all. And the Army was like, yeah, homie, go have fun doing a glorified help desk as a sysadmin as a 25 Delta. And then on top of that, a lot of people got sent to the vault. And we're like, hey, you're going to go to the vault. You're going to be part of the ComSec, da-da-da-da. So you see all of these things. And I'm like, this is bullshit. Yeah. I am. And I will stake claim to this live on air, on YouTube, on whatever else. I am one of those motherfuckers that emailed the Sergeant Major of the Army and was like, you don't have a fucking clue what you're doing with cyber. You don't have a clue. Now, my original email when I was in the schoolhouse was me being a little girl and bitching and complaining. Me as a NCO, once I was at Fort Riley, I ran this shit through a few sergeant majors before I sent it up. That finally got eyes on and some visibility. But it was one of those things where y'all don't have a fucking clue. The Army as a whole. So when I bitch and complain about the government, about the Army, about the military, in terms of cybersecurity, it's because I've experienced their training and the fact that when I graduated 25 Delta School, they lowered the standard to where you no longer had to pass a certification. You could get 50% and be okay. You're good. You're a 25 Delta. You're okay. You can do the job.
Shit.
That
they didn't do that for
bugged
me.
the living shit out of me. And if it wasn't for me having friends in the schoolhouse that were senior NCOs that I would listen to, I probably would have been demoted with an Article 15 because my boy came up to me as soon as they announced that and grabbed my shoulder and was like, "Homie, you're coming with me. Let's go smoke. Like we're out. No. Shut your mouth. We're going." I was like, "But I'm gonna strangle this dude."
Dude.
Yeah.
So things like this, and this is why when I look at our country, when I look at the US, I look at it as we are failing because I have seen the military lower standards to meet numbers. Yeah. And this is why when transitioning, are you transitioning as somebody who has exceeded this bullshit standard or someone who has met this standard? Because if you've met it, you've met some bullshit that doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
I can tell you what though, man, like, what was that 2015 when they did that? 2015 when they did that, right? So they did that's when they did the anybody can pass pretty much shit. As long as you get 50%. They can tell the difference in those guys and the ones that passed because they got rid of it. They only did it in 2015. They went back to.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So I went to 2017 and I had to pass everything. But they can tell, and we can always tell which 25 Delta Cyber Network defenders didn't pass anything when we got there because they were a totally different game, man.
I had friends that fucked everything up for me and pissed me off more than anything else. But I want to go beyond that. I want to go beyond the bullshit of the military because here's the reality of it is every single person in the military has to transition out at some point or another. Chris, when you transitioned out of the military, did you have a supporting structure to actually transition you into civilian life and to a civilian job?
No, unfortunately, no. It's gotten now. I've been talking to some friends back over in that neck of the woods. It's gotten a lot better now, but yeah, pretty much so. It was good luck. Have a nice day. Thanks very much. Enjoy yourselves. I was fortunate, again, because of the industry and probably also because I got yelled at as well. I still had a decent network of folks that I knew from beforehand that I went back to and was able to pick some of it back up pretty quickly. But it was freaking tough. It was, because it's a different fucking world. I mean, I was fortunate as a kid growing up. My father was British Royal Air Force, so I grew up as a military kid anyway, or brat, or whichever you want to look at it. So I was used to that life, that world, and everything else that went with it. And then, a couple of years working in the civilian side of the world, and then just going back into it. I mean, it was like, what the fuck? I mean, it really was one of those. It was eye-opening for somebody. And I mean, aside from just the work side of it, the ethics, the morals, and everything else that goes with it, just that work. I mean, you turn up and you're getting your shit done, and you're looking around and like, well, the rest of you motherfuckers, and it was just a different and just the attitude, and that hasn't left me. I mean, I still am a bull in a fucking china shop because just get shit done. Yeah, this isn't that hard. Sit down, shut up. And the problem is I can't say that. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I'm like, if I'd have had my way, we'd be doing a route march right now. We would be outside, we would be route marching, and I would be yelling. But I'm not allowed to do that. So this is why we're sitting inside having a general conversation. I'm like, just motherfucker. Yeah, it was a very, very different.
What year did you get out, Chris?
97. Well, I left active mid-90s and then reserves until I came over to the US in 98.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I finally came out of reserves in '98, which is when I got sent over here in November, December '98.
Okay. So, and it's crazy too, because you went through a different military structure than even we went through, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Being what you went through was different than anything we would see. But it's crazy because when you're conscripted or drafted or forced into or whatever the case may be, which we see a lot of countries to this day still do. It's a draft. You get out of high school, go serve your term, serve your country type of deal.
Yeah.
You coming from what? UK, England?
I came from British, yeah. So we were not. So they finished the conscription draft stuff in like the 50s. So I missed that. But I was actually. So I was going to go into the British Air Force, Royal Air Force.
Okay.
And ironically, I went through all the tests. I was in the Air Training Corps. I went through all the tests. Went to Cranwell, did all the intelligence shenanigans. I was looking to go in as an officer. Mostly because I wanted to piss off my father. That's an entirely separate conversation for another day. He was not an officer, so if that tells you anything about the relationship that we had, there we go. Yeah. So I literally went through all the tests, came through the end and the finals and all the regular medicals, flew through all that stuff. Then I went through for all the pilot medical stuff. And they measured me, and between my hip and my knee, too long. Couldn't fly fast jets. My ass is too big, basically. So they're like, oh, you can fly, fucking Fat Albert C-130s.
You can fly the A-10s, but good luck with anything else.
Shit, exactly, yeah. So I literally walked out, and this was in Bristol, and I will never forget. I walked out of I was pissed, I was fed up, all this other shit. Walked out, literally walked down the hill, walked into British Royal Marine Commandos, and said, I want to do that. Because that was, and so that was it. They were like, you're big, you're a pack horse, you've got brains. All right, that's good so far. You then spend a couple of days bouncing around the fucking countryside down the south part of England, and they're like, all right, you actually can swim, you don't sink, you're not made of lead, you can actually solve basic puzzles, and you can actually string a sentence together. Congratulations. And then that was it. It was off from there basically.
So this is kind of awesome, actually, knowing this. So, Geno, when did you get out of the military? When did you get out of the Army?
2019.
All right. Chris, when did you get out of the UK military?
A few years before that, definitely. So I was out in 98, and then I guess when I came over to the US, I worked with 7th and 10th for a couple of years down in Tapper and a few other places. And then when somebody decided to drive a fucking set of airplanes into some buildings, I then got grabbed back in again for a few years. And so that was, I guess finally like 05, 06 by the time I'd like finished all this stupidity, and then basically hang out with the reserves since then.
Because I saw you were part of the Marine Corps, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
I got brought in to help them out with some fun things.
So I ask these questions because here's the thing, right? When you look at veterans getting out of the military, and me personally getting out, I retired in 2017.
Right.
I saw what the Army, not the Air Force, not the Navy, not the Marines, everybody has their own programs. I saw what the Army had to offer. And depending on your command, depending on how much advantage you could take of it. So for some people, like myself, I was able to take full advantage of LinkedIn, of resume building, of everything else to build your career and them understand you're getting out. You need to make a life for yourself. So, Geno, we'll start with you.
All right, brother.
When you got out, do you feel the Army gave you the tools to get out and transition properly, especially in cybersecurity?
Yeah, okay, that's what I was about to ask. No, we had, I think me and you had several conversations. Like, I didn't know what the fuck I was gonna do, man. I didn't even know what I knew, to be honest. So, like, to articulate what I knew into the civilian world was the hardest thing for me, because if you think about everything we've done in the military, whether it be cyber or whatever it is, it's hard to articulate to civilian language what you did. And I was not. I had no clue. Like, I think I got lucky. I think I put my job on. I mean, my resume on clearance jobs, and SAIC hit me up, and they're like, "Hey, we need a senior system analysis / system administrator." And I got that job until I got 3 GS-12 job offers from the Cyber Protection Brigade or whatnot, right? And I just got lucky, to be honest, because I didn't get no job offers then. Because I didn't interviewing. I'm gonna be honest, I suck at interviewing. Like, they can ask me like the simplest IT cyber question, and I'd be like a deer in the fucking headlights, bro. Like, yeah, can we come back to that later? I just suck at it. And you know how I am with tests, right? With the SANS test, I get test anxiety, interview anxiety. I'm like, but when I do my job, I do it right. So I know what I'm doing. It's just the military did not prepare me for anything cybersecurity besides SANS certs. That's what they provided me with, SANS certifications.
And so to that, I think that within the U.S., within the military, within the Army, and again, I was in the Air National Guard, and then I went active duty Army. So I know both sides of what both sides have to offer. Again, when we talk about hotels and we make jokes, whether you're Marine Corps, Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, Navy, now we have the Space Force and potatoes. Like, I can literally go through the gambit of jokes. We can go through them all because we love each other, and that's how it is. But within the Army, I think they could have done better. I went through all of TAPS. I went through every course they had to offer, went through all of TAPS. I think there's more they could do for the soldiers getting out, but I think it needs to be based on career field and what you want to do getting out to be able to translate what you've done to what you want to do.
So now they have Skill Bridge.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I was going to say.
So supposedly they had it when I got it, but I didn't hear shit about Skill Bridge. So, like, my company does Skill Bridge, right? So the airmen that are getting out, if they want to work for my company or whatever, they can stay, get their active duty paycheck, and work for that company. It's kind of like an internship, pretty much. Now you can do Skill Bridge for whoever you want, Microsoft, whatever contractors offer it, anything cybersecurity, whatever, anything in your job field. I think that's a huge positive that they're finally doing, because Skill Bridge can help you a lot, because that's not only going to give you the experience in the civilian world that you didn't have before. Now you have experience, and maybe if there's any slots open, you can stay with the company you did Skill Bridge with.
I've heard that. I've heard about things like that, and I know Microsoft has been doing that for quite a few years, where they bridge the gap. They'll be like, "Oh, I'll bring you on almost as an intern and do these things." But even then, it's up to your unit to allow that, and that is where I have the problem. It is not with the capability. It is not with the opportunity. It is with the unit. So the opportunities are there. It is on soldiers, airmen, Marines, and Navy, and Coast Guard, and now I don't know what we call Space Force these days. I don't know. What are you going to fucking call the potatoes?
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right? So
they're called. I'm serious. The Guardians. I work with you guys.
There you go. So it's on them to find these answers.
It is.
But if we look at Chris's time, if we look at everybody else that came prior to, I'd say probably 2006.
Yeah.
Prior to 2006 getting out, what are their options? Because TAPS didn't exist.
Well, you had to have somebody who was empathetic or sympathetic. I mean, this on the other side. This is what I run into now. Is I'm good. I can look at a resume that came from somebody, or I can look at a LinkedIn that came from somebody out of the .mil.gov world, and I can translate it. But that's because I come from that world. If you've got a hirer or a recruiter or somebody that doesn't understand or doesn't have that mindset or can't comprehend, that's, I think, that to me is where the problem is. It's the other side of it now. It isn't just having brothers and family translating resumes, because even that's iffy sometimes. Let's face it. It's having the civilian side actually know what the hell they're looking at, and also know what they're dealing with. It really it's that to me is the biggest challenge that we have at the moment.
Do you think it's a challenge because if you translate it correctly, if you deal with the right people, veterans especially have this knack for time. If I hate to say this because I never bought into the Kool-Aid. I never drank the Kool-Aid. I was not airborne. I was not air assault. I was one of those people that was like, "Fuck you, homie. I'm not."
You were the sensible one that didn't
for no bullshit reason. Like, let me go home to my wife and kids type of person.
You were the sensible one,
right? But I was still always early. I was still like, to me, if I wasn't there 20 minutes beforehand, I was late. I was like, I'd wake up, and if I could get to no matter where I lived, I could get to the PT field within 5 minutes. If I woke up and there was 15 minutes for me to get there, and I knew I was going to get there, and there was going to be 5 minutes left in the before formation, I was late. I was like, no, I got to hurry up. I woke up late. Let's get going. So like, I have a mindset of I've got to hurry up and get this done. Everything needs to be done on time. Everything needs to be done early. Everything needs to be done right. Everything needs to be done If I got a meeting, I'm going to be there early. Hands down every time. My flights, everything I do, I've got to be early. And so when I look at these things and I look at civilian jobs, mind you, I will no longer work for anybody but a veteran that understands that mindset of I have to do this. And knowing that, do you think that people that are hiring veterans just to hire veterans is hurting veterans? Because they're doing all these things. They have this mindset. They have all these issues. And let's be honest, I have depression, anxiety, depression, anxiety, insomnia, broken back, broken neck, broken shoulders, broken whatever. Do you think these companies that are hiring veterans just for the sake of it, oh, that fucking hurt, are actually hurting?
That looked like that bloody hurt.
Oh, fucking hurt. Do you think it's actually hurting veterans going forward?
Ooh.
Just for the sake of it, because they're trying to check the box.
Yeah, so you have to have so many veterans to get tax credits, right? For a company, you have to have, for each veteran you get tax credits from the government. It can hurt in a way, I think. It's not good. It can't hurt the veteran, but it can definitely hurt the veterans, the people's view on veterans. If you get a veteran there not doing what they got to do, in my opinion.
I mean, to your point, it's if you don't work for somebody, again, who understands that mentality and that mindset, you're going to get screwed. I mean, you're screwed. I mean, no two ways about it. Perfect example. I mean, there's family that I have that work with me, and they're like, hey, I got to take time. I'm like, I got you covered. End of conversation. Nothing else needs to be said. And it's allowing that. It's because damn well that's they've got your back, you've got their back, and nothing. That's it. We're done. There's no bullshit that needs to go with that. But I've run into way too many bosses that mentality doesn't work. And the same thing. That's like, hey, I woke up this morning, and this is not a morning for me to get out of bed. I'm done. And even now, I mean, I'm pretty vocal about that on LinkedIn. There are times that I'm just like, I'm done. And thankfully where I'm at accepts that. They understand that, they accept it, because they know when I'm on point, I'm on point. But they've also realized that, hey, if I'm not on point, trying to get me to do something, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty ugly, and somebody's head's coming off.
And I think that is where us as veterans have to become more vocal online.
Yes.
And get out of our shells, because, and I stand by this, whether in the military or out of the military, no matter how you come into cybersecurity, a lot of us are introverts. A lot of us are autistic or ADHD or ADD or there is something going on up here that other people don't understand and will never understand. So to come out of your shell, to come out and speak on it, to come out and mention it, to come out and just talk about things will bring a fire under the ass of these companies that don't realize who they're dealing with. And so to be able to speak on those facts and be like, look, when I'm done, I'm done. There's nothing to be had. I'm done. And me and my counterpart, me and my boss is a veteran. We hire a lot of veterans where I work, but beyond that, even those that aren't vets understand that the industry and what we do and who we are. And so it's one of those things where it's like, look, if this ain't my day, it ain't my day, homie. I'm checked out. I cannot deal functionally, mentally with a client, with a person. I'm done. And they're like, yo, homie, bet I got your back. I got your 6. Have fun.
Well, I think it's the challenge is we have got to recognize that, to your point, exactly to your point. We got to recognize that ourselves, because let's face it, put it in a fucking box,
horrible
bury it.
You know, when's the last time you recognized you checked out?
Yeah.
About 10 seconds, about 10 seconds before somebody's throat was about to get ripped out.
Right.
Pretty much.
Seriously though, because let's be honest. Man, woman, non-binary, it doesn't fucking matter. When is the last time those of us in cybersecurity have recognized that we've checked out until it's too late?
Oh,
it is way too late, and I've been there. It's been too late for me.
I'm getting better. I will argue I'm getting better, because I think I'm probably talking about it. I think that's part of it, and I think that's the talking about it is helping. It's helping recognize. It's also helping that ability to literally look in the mirror and go, it ain't today. But that takes a change in mental mindset, because again, simple thing. When you're in, it's like when you're in, you're taught basically put it in a fucking box and bury it. End of conversation. Now get on with shit. Changing that mentality for digging the bloody boxes back up again and going, now we're gonna face this shit. That ain't pretty. It's not fun to do.
Oh, shadow work is never fun. Never fun. Chris, me and you can talk for days on that. I'm pretty sure, because I know where you're coming from on that one. And that shadow work is never fun. Yeah. Geno, as far as you're concerned, as far as what you've done, as far as what you've seen in everything, what is your take on it, man? Like on society, on cybersecurity, on what we deal with on a daily basis. What is your take?
I'm trying to wait for people to wake up, man. Like, that's my biggest thing. Like, wake up, bro. Like, this shit's real, man.
Yeah.
We all know that. Like, us in this field, we know that. And especially in government entities where they contract or whatever, you know this shit's real, but it's still crazy.
But here's the thing, right? So this is one of the things that I will never understand. No matter where you come from, no matter what country you come from, no matter what you do, everything relies on the bottom dollar, right? So gold, silver, whatever currency, whatever thing you want to put behind it, it doesn't fucking matter. At the end of the day, everything we do relies on some form of currency. Why is it the security of your data, your IP, your everything comes second, like secondary to operations? The security of your shit comes secondary to operations. Like, that will never make sense to me, because the security of your data, whether it's your companies, the clients, the whatever, always comes secondary.
You know,
whereas when you think about it, your data, which is sold. So you look at ransomware. Let's take this from a military perspective. You look at ransomware, right? Everybody is like, oh, ransomware is so bad. You do realize that prior to any encryption, they've pulled all your data. And actually, prior to them pulling your data, prior to the ransomware, they've probably hit you with a bunch of other shit too that you just didn't pick up on. Because we're looking at like 3 lines of attacks that you just haven't realized. It's just gone. Because for some reason you haven't upped your security to pick up on all these things. So now you have this point, and then you have the ransomware. But before the ransomware, you have the exfiltration of your data, which is everything. So now we're going to drop this ransomware, encrypt everything, and say, hey, for X amount of dollars, we're going to release this. Or not going to release this, right? X amount of dollars, we'll decrypt your data. You decrypt it. You pay them. You decrypt your data. But now they still have all your data. Hey, for X amount of dollars, if you don't pay us, now we're going to release this out to the public. But you just said this. Yeah, homie. That $2.1 million that you paid to decrypt your data because you don't have a good backup, now you got to pay another $5 million or they're going to release it to the public. But they already have it. So even if you pay them $5 million, they're still going to release it to the public. They're just going to collect their money.
You know why? It's not tangible.
No.
You can't touch it. This, if I took, okay, perfect example. This, my wallet, okay? Data in it, systems in it, cards in it, all this stuff. This is tangible. If I lose this, I know exactly how much money I've lost in it. I know the cards I have to deal with, yada, yada, all this other good stuff. I know who I'm going to make phone calls to. This is tangible. If you encrypt this, I'd be fucked because I've lost it. It's tangible. I can touch it. Yet this isn't tangible. I mean, this is, but the data that's on it, it isn't tangible. We can't touch it. We don't feel it.
So how do we fix that, Chris? So, all right. So this is what I'm going to do. I want a debate between you and Geno. Hold up. Let me see if I can fix this.
Don't do this thing, man.
So before I pull my stuff off air, I want you and Geno to discuss this. How can we fix the issue with data exfiltration, which we know comes from ransomware? Any company out there that thinks they're going to fucking pay and like, oh, it's decrypted, it's all good. Homie, they're just going to encrypt your shit again.
Yep.
Like, it's just going to happen. If not, they're just going to extort you for the data they already stole. So, I want a conversation between you two because here's the thing. My show is all about my guests. I want y'all two to discuss.
Ooh,
real slick there. Real slick.
How, I tried, Geno. You know I love you. How can this issue either be addressed or fixed? And I'll be back in a little bit, but I want to hear about it.
Yeah, that's what that beer does to you, Chris. It makes you have to piss.
Yeah, I was just saying that's exactly what you know. That's exactly what I'm surprised the camera.
Exactly. Hey, that was a good one. That was real slick. But seriously though, how to fix it, Chris? How to fix it is take your shit seriously.
Well, okay, let's get real. I've stood up on stage a few times and I've said it, and I'll say it again. The only time that humanity has changed, and we're going back thousands of years, I hate to say it, is when we kill people. Yep. Not 1 or 2, but when we kill en masse. The only time we are going to take data seriously is when we literally kill off an entire hospital full of patients, or when we kill off an entire population because we hit the supply chain and we poisoned the water or something. When we literally do something like that, and you have to make the average human climb over the dead body of grandma to post their social media, that's the only time we're going to fix things. Yeah,
well, like, exactly. Nobody takes it seriously until the shit happens.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if it hasn't happened to me, it's not going to happen to me.
I mean, to me, it's to me,
100%.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the military. I mean, to me, it was I always take it as the, crawl, walk, run, dry fire, live fire shit. You're doing the exercises, you do the exercises, then you do the live fire exercises. You take that more seriously. Yes. At that point, you're like, if I fuck up, this is going to hurt. And then when you get out in the field, you don't jump up like a fucking redhead chicken and run around and get your ass shot, because you've gone through the training, you've taken it seriously, because not only has it been drilled into you, you've seen the consequences.
Yeah. Train as you fight.
Yeah.
If you don't train as you fight, everybody's going to be like, oh, shit, surprise.
Yeah, and I think that's, I hate to say it, and I don't hate to say it, and I do hate to say it, but the only time we've changed is literally the mass. You want to affect change on healthcare? Kill a couple of hospitals full of people because of a digital. We'll go in, we'll drop a bunch of exploits because let's face it, that ain't fucking hard to do in a healthcare system, and I'll kill every single patient that you've got hooked up to any kind of system.
And
now
then
maybe you'll take it seriously.
Light bulbs.
But even then,
Yeah.
but even then, it's not going to happen. It's money. You can do all that, and this is the downside, and I will stand by this. People can come after me, leave whatever the fuck comment you want. I don't give a damn. It comes down to money. You could literally burn, with people in it, to the ground, a hospital, several hospitals, and it will not matter because money comes into play, and they're going to say, oh, the government has to fund billions of dollars of this or millions of dollars of that or do this to that, and it's not going to matter.
Now I want to say this.
Everything, the life does not come first. The dollar bill
comes.
does.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Go, Geno. Go for it.
I want to do a 50-50 with you, man. I want to agree to disagree, but disagree to agree at the same time, right? So money, yes, you're right. Money makes the world go round. Money, doesn't matter. What's going to be important enough to put on the media is what's going to make the difference.
There we go.
If it's not important enough to put on the media,
where is the media going to push? Where is the media going to push? Is it going to push on there was not enough security or bad shit happened?
It depends on
that is where the problem's going to lie. They're going to push on bad shit happened, not, hey, we could have secured this better. We could have done better. It's going to be bad shit happened. People died. That is where the problem's going to lie.
Actually, I hate to say it. What's probably going to happen at the moment, and this is coming from a CISO, let's face it, is the CISO is going to get hung out.
Oh, dude, the CISOs get burned day in, day out. They're the ones that fry.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think so I'll take it. There's a different tact, and to some degree, it's back to that agree to disagree kind of thing. But here's a different tact, and I can't say who it is because I work in an aviation industry. But say a couple of years ago, a particular other aviation company had a problem with a couple of its airplanes. They put a compensating control in place. They didn't fix the problem. They put a compensating control in place that resulted in 2 airline crashes. Now, when the first crash occurred, they blamed the pilot. When the second crash occurred, they tried to blame pilot error again, and they were found to be incorrect very quickly. And so it became a matter, exactly to your point, money definitely came into it, but also so did reputation, and actually so did the compensating controls and a bunch of other stuff. So it definitely, it took 2 planes and several hundred people and bad press and negative things and money to come into it before change occurred.
So let's look at it this way. As veterans, we know that bureaucratic red tape can come into a lot of things. Everything we do within cybersecurity, whether militarily or civilian, it is the higher ups that make the call. It is those that are above us that say, do or do not. Yeah. Right? So me personally, who realized when I was at the Pentagon, before I was in cybersecurity, when I was working for a different organization, said, hey, you disabled command prompt, but not PowerShell. And they were like, yeah, we know. I'm like, but you realize I could do more with PowerShell with a script than I can with command prompt. And they're like, yeah, we know. But I'm saying this is fucked up. You should not be doing this. And so it went on and on. And the guy knew what I was saying. He understood, but the call came from higher up. He couldn't disable certain things, da-da-da-da. So we look at these things, and we understand that. In IT, in cybersecurity, we're like, hey, this is bullshit. But there are people that don't understand because, and this is my problem. Chris, you're a CISO, right?
Yep.
Been a CISO for a little while. Me personally, when I look at what it takes to be a CISO, what it takes to be a CISO in this industry, is a lot of I know this shit's going to hit the fan. I know it's going to come down on me. I know I'm going to have to shoulder that load. We're going to have to deal with it. But at the same time, I am going to enforce and do everything I can to enable the business while at the same time secure the business, which sometimes contradict.
Yep.
Geno, same way. You in the CPT, you doing everything you can for what you do. You have those conflicting. We just gonna clap and like make sure it works and hope it fucking works out for the best. Like it's these conflicting things that go on. So whether it's federally, whether it's civilian or whatever, how much does that come into play where it's I have said and done and tried to secure everything I can, but that government official, that whatever, has said, nah, homie, I need
God damn, that was a lot of bottles.
Well,
that was from yesterday too. Don't
I'm gonna do what you did, man. I'm gonna let you guys talk about this for a second. I want to hear y'all go ahead.
All right, Gene. Go ahead. But I want to know. I want to know, Chris.
It's a daily conversation. I'll tell you right now.
But how much of that is to the detriment of what we're trying to do?
Ooh. All right. There's two. There's a.
Because here's the thing, right? You have, when you're looking at, and I'm picking all these bottles up as I'm saying this, you have two conflicting problems.
Yep.
You have business enablement and business security.
Yep.
Once you get out of the military, once you get out, and even if you're in government, you still have the same issue.
Yep.
Right? You got to enable the government while securing the government.
Doing everything you can to protect,
So when you're looking at these things.
Yeah. It's a balance. It is. All
right. So with that balance, social media, do you think that should be allowed on government devices, corporate devices, or anywhere within corporate infrastructure?
Government devices, absolutely not. Corporate devices, my preference is absolutely not, unless I can effectively manage the flow of data, to your point. And unless I can turn it, there we go. And it's all about managing the flow of the data. So, and same thing with personal devices. I mean, for me on a personal device, again, we don't educate people well enough. And this goes back to the conversation. This is all that balance. It's a corporate balance. If the corporation says, hey, we want to let everybody use TikTok. Okay, great. I understand where you're coming from, but let me explain it to you in a way that you'll understand it. Here's your data now. And in 24 hours time, when everybody's using TikTok, here's your data in an entirely different country. If that is what you want, and I can explain it in a way that they understand it, this is the other thing. We can't talk in geek. We can't talk in acronyms. We got to talk in business. Yeah, there we go. Exactly. If I can explain it in a way that they understand it and they are still willing to accept the risk, sign off on the risk. That's fine. Now, as Chris, I have to then turn around and say, am I personally willing to agree to that? Because if I am, then I should be willing to accept the consequences. And if I'm not, my resignation is in 5 minutes after they've signed on that dotted line.
So all right. So Geno just came back. So I want to ask this question because this poses a very, very serious question because you brought up TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok.
I did a post. I took it to pieces. I did a post on it. I took it to pieces and I put it on LinkedIn. It wasn't.
I love that you brought up TikTok because I use TikTok. I have an account. I have videos out there. So as someone who understands the nuances of what it does.
Yep.
Right. They still are forced to house all of the data within the U.S. But there is still data that is extradited and housed other places.
Yep.
Is it an issue to have any social media? And Geno, this is for you because Chris basically already answered it. Any social media on on government devices.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's, to be honest, man, I think social media is killing us. We all use it, right? We all use it. LinkedIn.
Dude, how many bots do we have on LinkedIn now that are like, "Hey, I got a job for you"?
Dude, if I was the bad guy, I'm going to LinkedIn because I'm going to see what clearance you freaking have. I'm going to see what your job is. I'm going to see where you work. I'm going to see exactly what you do, and you can get so much information just from looking at somebody's LinkedIn page compared to a Facebook page or Instagram page. LinkedIn is where you're going to get all your information from.
Yep.
So all right. I am a big proponent of LinkedIn, not for the negative reasons, but for the good reasons. You can find people like Geno, Chris, myself, so many others. They're going to help you out, promote you, and try to get you a job, try to hire you, try to do all these other things. I am one of the few. Chris is another one. Geno, I'm sure, is there now. If not, will be there in the future. That is a hiring manager. He can pull you in and actually hire you. So I look at these things, and I'm like, LinkedIn is a very valuable tool. That's how I've gotten my jobs, is because of LinkedIn and knowing people and building the right network. So, as a veteran, as somebody, and I actually, I'll put this more to you, Chris, just because you have built a name for yourself prior to social media and being able to put yourself out there. How important is LinkedIn to you right now as a CISO?
I would say fairly important. I think it's still pretty important. It's important for a bunch of reasons. One, because from a hiring standpoint, I love it because I can look people up, I can talk with them, I can get to know the human. I can look down and see what they've been up to and who they know and who else I know around them. Number two, looking at vendors and looking at suppliers, I choose really freaking carefully, Back to your point, I want a supplier and a vendor that knows, loves, and cares for on the veteran side of it. I also want somebody that's got some freaking diversity in there because I want diversity of thought, ideas, all the other stuff that goes with that. So I look very, very carefully at that side of it. But I'm also, if there's something that's going on and I'm dealing with the vendor and the supplier and I want to go further up the food chain, I'm just going to stick a message out to their CISO or their senior level and say, hey, need 10 minutes with you, give me a shout when you get a chance. And that to me is my way of communication. So for me, I use it a lot as basically a major communication platform.
And that's very valid because you have that ability. Yeah. And I have used it for not the same reasons, but valid reasons, as in I'm going to reach out. So me and you, Chris, I am not a CISO. I have never been in management up until this job I just got now. I was not a manager. But me and you've been connected for a while. We've been talking, we've been discussing, we've been having conversations. I think it goes back a year or two that me and you've actually been discussing things and talking about things, and we go way back. So for what you bring to the table, I understand, I get, and I follow everything that you say and do because I want to understand the nuances of that CISO and that relationship and everything. So I get that completely. Geno, for you, you don't have a Twitter. You don't have an Instagram. You don't have a Facebook. Well,
not Instagram. I have Facebook.
You may or may not have a personal Facebook. We're not going to get into that because you know me. I can find shit. But you have a LinkedIn. What has LinkedIn done for you?
Oh, just like Chris said, man, I used it for everything. When I was a hiring manager on the CCRI team, I would look at people's profiles. If I saw a job application, I would go straight to their profile on LinkedIn. I would read their LinkedIn. I would see what they have or what jobs they've had. Not only that, I've used it for jobs. Like most of my jobs, like this job now, somebody found me on LinkedIn. I've been a real big advocate for LinkedIn in a positive way since 2012, 13. Right?
No,
so
I retired in 17. So when did you become an advocate? Because I retired in 17. You were still in the Army when I retired.
Yeah, so I was in the Army. So I was an Army recruiter at the time when I started LinkedIn. So I started building my LinkedIn off my dad telling me, hey, build your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
So in 2012, as of my first year in recruiting, I was like, shit, I'm going to get out. I need to start building my network. So at that time, I started building my network, connecting with recruiters. That's before I was even IT. I was not even IT at the time. I was connecting with HR guys so I can be a recruiter for tech companies or IT companies, whatever. That's what I wanted to do. And then I changed my job to IT, but I've been building that LinkedIn since 2012, 13, whatever it is. And ever since then, it's just been going. And I keep connecting to recruiters. I keep connecting to people in our job field. And it's helped me in many ways. Even when I need advice, if I need something with my job, like my last job, I was an information system security engineer. I was ISI for RMF. Nobody on my team would know what the fucking RMF did or the ISI did.
Nothing.
Like, we never see ISIs. We got ISMs and ISOs, but we don't know what an ISI does. Nobody knows what an ISI does. So I had to go talk to other ISIs, and they tell me the same shit. We don't know. We're trying to figure it out ourselves. So they would give me whatever information they had, and I would give them what information I had through LinkedIn.
So
and that's
we're going to talk on that. Actually, I got a few comments on that. But Jack, thank you for donating $10 super chat. Again, as soon as I get my money back from YouTube, because I got to get $100 a month before they'll give me any money. Thank you, I appreciate it. Can we fix it though? Can we fix what, Jack? Besides the recruiting and hiring and military process of how we do things, please inform me, because I there's a lot of things we can fix.
Maybe talking about the hospital issue we brought up earlier, or the cybersecurity.
It's potentially there's a lot of things we can fix. The hospitals, critical infrastructure, bureaucracy, the military. There's a lot of things we can fix that are broken within this country and with what we do. And I will say this. And me and Ryan Rosado had a conversation 2 weeks ago. So Israel, and we're not going to get into political bullshit of anything, but Israel, how they pull people in and what they do for their cybersecurity. There have been a lot of cybersecurity organizations and technologies that have come out of Israel that are now global.
Yep.
So you want to talk about capabilities of cybersecurity? I'm sorry, not much has come from the U.S. When you're looking at technology, when you're looking at software, when you're looking at capability, not much has come from the U.S. I use software that is not from the U.S. I know organizations that use software that's not from the U.S. So from a standpoint of cybersecurity, our innovations of software don't come from here. They come from other countries. And I hate to say it, but it's the fucking truth.
Yeah, I kind of want to argue, but I don't think I can. Not to the volume.
I want you to argue. I want people to argue, but you can't.
No,
I was waiting for Chris to say something.
No, it's tough. I mean, there is innovation here. No two ways about it, but not to the extent and not with the support. I think this is where this is again back to that military, non-military aspect, and government as well. It's, you look at the support infrastructure that's over there, that's put in place by the government and by the military, that camaraderie that's to some degree forced upon them. Not a bad thing. So when they are in, they're trained, they're in, they're out, they come out, they build something to help them, to help everybody around them. So much of the innovation over here is built to help themselves. Yeah. So yeah, and I wonder if that's a big chunk of it as well. Is it's that one for all for one kind of mentality, which inside the military is bred in. Let's face it, and outside it's a lot rougher to try to actually get people around you to think that way.
I think if the military. So I had a guy. So the gold disc that everybody knows and loves from the military, the gold disc, the gold image, the whatever.
Yep.
That was developed by a military member.
Yep.
My boy told him. So he was in the service at the same time this shit came about. Got out because of medical, came back in, fought everything, Me and him had this conversation. He was like, you realize I knew the guy that came out with that? And I said, so what happened? He goes, I told him not to tell them about it till he got out and retired. or got out and separated, whatever. Go get your money and then tell them about it. He told him about it while he was in. So he made nothing, zilch, zero off of a gold disc image that the military was going to buy and pay and do whatever for. But an active duty member can't make money off the military.
Right.
So they're just going to use it.
Yeah.
And so this is my problem. And this is the last thing I'll say. And then I think military has a lot going for them. I think they have a lot going against them. I think there's a lot we can do as industry professionals, as veterans ourselves. We need to find more and more ways to give back that the military isn't doing, especially in this career field.
Mm-hmm.
But saying that, I think that the bullshit behind everything we do, when you are in the, I don't know about the Air Force because I had been out of the Air Force way too long, but in the Army, the Navy, the Marines, you can be a cybersecurity professional, throw a fucking expert on it. I don't fucking care. I hate that term. But go ahead, throw that term on there. It don't mean shit because civilians are going to do your job. You have to know how to study, learn, grow, and truly promote yourself to make a name for yourself in this industry outside of the military. Hands down.
100%, man. Because
100%.
Yeah, on the Army CBTs, there's no contractors, right? It's only civilians and active duty. On the Air Force side, it's civilians, active duty, and contractors.
And contractors.
And the contractors are the ones that help the civilians and the active duty. Because let's be honest, active duty is active duty. So either way, they're in the slot no matter what they know.
Yeah.
And so the civilians, federal, they meet the check the box.
So saying that, Geno, you first. Me and Chris have talked a lot. Geno, you first. If you had any advice for anybody coming out of the military or even civilian in general, what advice would you give to newcomers coming into cybersecurity?
Bro, I would say just don't be scared, man. You'll be surprised what people don't know and what they do know. And you going in there, my like, so for me, for instance, right? Like me, I was always worried about shit. I'm fucking stressing out. I'm gonna get this job and I'm gonna lose it in a week. I'm gonna get fired on my day off. Like my name was fucking Craig from Friday, right? Right. So, but you know what? Those guys, everybody is learning. This technology is moving so fast, bro. Everybody is learning. Everybody is learning something new. You're gonna have your guys that know a lot more than you, but if you can just follow along and learn, you're going to be all right. So don't be intimidated to just go for it.
So,
if you get a job, you get a job.
I love it. Chris, you, as a CISO, when I got some resumes, I'm going to send your way, homie. It's going to happen.
Wait for a minute. Boom's got to get some money first. Hold that thought.
All right. I'm going to send them to you, and then I'm going to resend them to you. It's going to happen. I got some people that need to be hired by you. But saying that, what's your advice to people breaking into the industry, whether veteran, non-veteran, whatever the case may be? What's your advice?
Our industry has and should always be first and foremost about the human. So back to the conversation we had, it's about relationships. It's about family. It's about friends. It's about LinkedIn. It's about giving back to the community. It's about volunteering at VetCon. It's about volunteering at DEF CON and B sites. It's about getting out there and being part of this community. That'll open more doors than any freaking resume, any cert, anything else will, by far and away.
I don't disagree with you. So here's the thing, right? And I'm going to put this out there for everybody to know, everybody hear, everybody understand. I retired in 2017. That is when I got out of the Army. That is when they medically retired me because I'm broken. I have a lot of fucked up issues. This is why I have this right here. And a lot of other things. But saying that, I have worked for the same man 3 times. And there is a reason for that. Is because when shit hits the fan, when I need a job, when I need to make a phone call, he knows I will do the job for him. I will work for him. I have been there. Networking is key. There is a lot of people out there. I am trying to get jobs, whether for me, for a coworker, for other people I know. This shit happens. Networking will always be key, because I will sit there, and if somebody calls me, even in my last job, before I got here, my boss would literally hit me up on a message like, hey, do you know this person? They're connected to you on LinkedIn. I'd have to go back to our chat history and make sure I know this person. This shit happens. So whether you're in the military, transitioning out of the military, or just a civilian, been a civilian your whole life, networking is key. Make sure you connect with everybody you can. Me and Chris been talking for a hot minute. Me and Geno, I've known Geno for a hot minute. I got his number. This shit happens. It is just a phone call away. I could tell you a lot of other people that have been on this show that I got their numbers, and hands down, I would hire them as soon as I had a job open. If it was up to me and the job was up to me, I don't care what level you are, I will hire you if you fit that level. Networking is key. Please meet it. Please start getting out there and talking to people. It is vital. Now, saying that, I love you all. This is Security Happy Hour. This is, well, CyberWarriorStudios. And I am the Cyber Warrior. I've got Chris. I've got Geno over here. And it's been an amazing episode. Please take care. Have a great Veterans Day weekend. For all my Marines out there, make sure you eat your favorite crayon, because I know you really want it, and it's going to happen. Otherwise, take care. Love you all. I'll see you all next week for another amazing episode.
You too, guys.
Y'all take it easy.